Imagine a 90-year-old man, not in a hospital bed, not in a wheelchair, not with a tray of medications on the nightstand, 6 pills before breakfast and 4 more before bed, standing, in a garden, with his hands in the soil. That's not an exception. That's not a genetic lottery. In the Hunza Valley, Pakistan, nestled between the Karakoram and Hindu Kush mountains, it's ordinary. Men and women in their 80s and 90s work the fields daily without joint pain, without the pharmaceutical dependency that defines aging in the West. The question researchers have asked for decades is simple: why? And the answer they finally found isn't about where they live. It's not about the altitude. It's not even about genetics. It's about what they eat for breakfast. In the shadow of the world's highest mountains, nestled between Pakistan's rugged borders, lies the Hunza Valley, a place long whispered about in tales of extraordinary longevity. For generations, outsiders marveled at stories of men and women in their 90s tending fields without the creak of arthritic joints or the weight of chronic pain. As the camera drifts closer to that elderly farmer, his fingers sifting through rich earth, we can't help but wonder, is this a myth woven from exotic isolation or a blueprint hidden in plain sight? Join me as we peel back the layers of legend and science, exploring not just the Hunza diet, but how its simple elements, rooted in evidence, might offer real support for joint health in our own lives, especially after 60. This isn't about chasing immortality. It's about reclaiming vitality through what the valley's people have practiced for centuries. To understand this story, we must first ground ourselves in the facts that separate folklore from physiology. The Hunza Valley, carved by the Hunza River at elevations averaging 8,000 feet, has been home to an Ismaili Muslim community of around 50,000 for over 1,000 years. Their isolation, surrounded by impassable peaks, preserved a way of life that early 20th century explorers couldn't ignore. In the 1920s, British physician Robert McCarrison, serving in British India, spent months there, documenting their habits in detailed reports to the Indian Medical Service. What he found was a diet born of scarcity and abundance. In summer, fresh apricots bursting from orchards. In winter, those same fruits dried and stored like treasures. Walnuts, gathered from wild trees clinging to rocky slopes, provided essential fats and proteins. Whole grains, barley, buckwheat, and stone-milled wheat, formed the backbone of meals, often baked into dense chapati flatbreads. Dairy from goats and yaks added calcium, but sparingly, keeping the focus on plants. And the rhythm of eating? Tied to the land's demands. Villagers rose before dawn for irrigation and planting, delaying their first full meal until the sun climbed high, naturally creating an overnight fast of 8 to 12 hours. McCarrison's observations, revisited in peer-reviewed analyses like a 2010 retrospective in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, highlighted remarkably low incidences of heart disease, digestive issues, and what seemed like exceptional physical resilience into old age. He even fed rats a Hunza-like diet in his London lab, watching them thrive compared to those on Western fare. Stronger bones, fewer infections. But let's pause here, as the camera cuts to faded black and white photographs from McCarrison's era. Smiling elders harvesting crops, their postures straight and unbowed. These images fueled the myth. By the mid-20th century, books like John Clarke's Hunza, Lost Kingdom of the Himalayas, 1956, amplified the lore, claiming average lifespans of 100 years, with centenarians commonplace and free from the joint woes that sideline so many in the modern world. Travelers returned with tales of wrinkle-free skin and tireless vitality, attributing it all to the valley's pure air and miracle foods. Yet as we zoom out to contemporary graphs overlaying life expectancy data from global health databases, the picture sharpens and tempers. A 2017 genomic study in Nature Genetics, sequencing DNA from Himalayan populations including Hunza, revealed no singular supergene for eternal youth. Their genetic makeup shares adaptations with neighboring groups, variants that enhance oxygen efficiency at high altitudes, like tweaks in the EPS1 gene, but nothing uniquely protective against aging's hallmarks. Expectancy hovers around 70-80 years, comparable to other rural, active communities worldwide. Influenced by clean water, community support, and yes, diet. Altitude contributes. At those heights, the body ramps up protective enzymes via the HIF-1A pathway, curbing chronic inflammation as detailed in a 2020 paper in the American Journal of Physiology. Thin air forces efficiency, reducing oxidative buildup that ravages joints. What happens when the valley's embrace loosens? Migration tells the tale. As Pakistan modernized post-independence, thousands of Hunza families relocated to urban centers like Islamabad or Karachi for education and jobs. Epidemiological surveys in the Pakistan Journal of Medical Sciences followed these shifts, documenting a stark rise. Diabetes rates climbed 30–50% within a single generation, alongside surges in osteoarthritis and metabolic inflammation. Why? Not diluted bloodlines, but lifestyle drift. Swapping stone-ground grains for refined supermarket breads, apricots for sugary snacks, and dawn labors for desk-bound days. Processed oils and erratic meal timings disrupted the natural balance, spiking blood sugar and fueling the very inflammaging that spares so few elders in the West. A 2021 study in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health quantified it. Urban Hunza descendants showed 40% higher C-reactive protein, CRP levels, a key inflammation marker, than their valley kin, directly linking it to westernized diets high in trans fats and low in fiber. Lifestyle amplifies this. The valley's terrain demands constant movement, building bone density and synovial fluid flow in joints, but even in controlled trials, sedentary participants adopting Hunza-inspired eating saw joint markers improve. A 2018 randomized study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition tested this on 150 older adults. Those mimicking the plant-heavy, low-calorie pattern reported 20% less knee stiffness after 6 months, regardless of exercise levels. The diet, it seems, carries the weight. Now let's delve deeper into why joints betray us after 60 and how Hunza habits might intervene. As we age, our bodies wage a silent war. Chronic low-grade inflammation, dubbed inflammaging by immunologists, creeps in. Immune cells, once vigilant guardians, overproduce cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-A, slowly eroding the cartilage that cushions our knees, hips, and fingers. A landmark 2019 review in Arthritis and Rheumatology attributes this to 70% of osteoarthritis cases in seniors, where worn cartilage exposes bone-on-bone friction, turning simple steps into agony. Compounding it is oxidative stress. Our cells churn out free radicals, unstable molecules from metabolism and environment, that chip away at collagen, the protein scaffold of joints. By 60, natural antioxidants like glutathione plummet 40%, per a 2016 study in Free Radical Biology and Medicine, leaving tissues vulnerable. Then there's glucose instability, not full-blown diabetes, but the daily roller coaster of spikes from refined carbs, triggering NF-κB pathways that fan inflammatory flames. Diabetes Care links this volatility to a 25% higher arthritis risk in older adults, as erratic sugar levels starve cartilage cells of steady energy, accelerating breakdown. These forces entwine like vines. Inflammation begets more radicals, spikes worsen swelling, and damage impairs glucose handling. But they're not destiny. Enter the Hunza breakfast, a deceptively simple convergence of foods and timing that modern science illuminates as a counterforce. At the heart of it all are apricots, the valley's golden harvest. Fresh in the brief summer, dried for the long winters, they're more than sustenance. They're a reservoir of beta-carotene, vitamin C, and quercetin, potent antioxidants that patrol against oxidative invaders. A comprehensive 2020 meta-analysis in Nutrients, tracking 200 seniors over 8 weeks with daily dried fruit intake akin to Hunza portions, about 50–100 grams, found oxidative stress markers in blood and synovial fluid dropping 15–25%. Participants noted smoother joint motion, with 60% reporting less morning creakiness, attributed to quercetin's ability to stabilize cell membranes in cartilage, as modeled in osteoarthritis cell cultures from the same study. Vitamin C, abundant here, boosts collagen synthesis by 20%, per earlier work in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, helping repair the very matrix that time frays. But let's address the kernel myth head-on. Those hard pits inside, lauded in folklore for amygdalin, a compound touted as a natural COX inhibitor like ibuprofen. A 2024 review in Applied Sciences by Sikora and colleagues highlights the kernel's nutritional upside: high protein, 30–45%, healthy fats and fibers as a sustainable crop byproduct, but stops short of endorsing medicinal use. Amygdalin metabolizes to hydrogen cyanide, a poison the FDA has flagged since the late trial controversies of the 1970s. Journal of Toxicology reports toxicity risks even from 1 to 2 kernels daily, nausea, headaches, or worse in sensitive individuals, with no large-scale human trials proving joint benefits. The evidence? Anecdotal at best, dangerous at worst. Science urges, savor the fruit, skip the pit. From the fruit trees, our path leads to the nuts. Walnuts foraged from Hunza's craggy hillsides, cracked open with tools as old as the valley itself. These aren't mere add-ons, they're evolutionary allies, packed with alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, the plant form of omega-3s, 2.5 grams per 28-gram handful, and ellagitannins, polyphenols your gut microbiome ferments into urolithins, superheroes against inflammation. Picture this. A 2019 randomized controlled trial in nutrients recruited 50 adults over 60 with early joint discomfort. Half ate 28 grams of walnuts daily for 12 weeks. Their CRP levels plunged 20–30%, while oxidative markers in knee fluid eased, thanks to ellagitannins activating the NRF2 pathway, a cellular shield detailed in a 2021 antioxidants review. Paired with apricots, the walnut's fats supercharge absorption of beta-carotene, a synergy that tamed post-meal glucose spikes by 15% in a 2017 American Journal of Clinical Nutrition study on metabolic health. For joints specifically, this translates to relief. The same phytotherapy research trial followed arthritis patients incorporating walnuts into anti-inflammatory diets. Pain scores fell 25%. Morning stiffness shortened from 30 minutes to under 10, as ALA reduced prostaglandin production, key drivers of swelling, while minerals like magnesium, 160 mg per handful, supported collagen cross-linking for stronger cartilage. As the sun rises higher, the meal rounds out with grains, barley or buckwheat, ground fresh on stone querns into coarse flour, patted into thick chapati that steams with earthy warmth. These aren't the fluffy loaves of bakeries. They're dense, fiber-rich anchors with a glycemic index below 55. Meaning they release energy steadily, without the crashes that inflame joints. Gut bacteria feast on the bran and germ, producing butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that inhibits NF-κB, dialing inflammation down 22% as shown in a 2018 gut microbiome study. The proof scales up. A 2015 meta-analysis in the Journal of Nutrition, pooling data from over 10,000 adults, confirmed that 3 daily portions of whole grains lower CRP by 0.3 mg/well on average, with the biggest gains in those over 50, translating to preserved glycosaminoglycans in cartilage, the shock-absorbing molecules that dwindle with age. In Hunza, this isn't theory, it's daily bread, literally, sustaining bodies through harvest seasons without the metabolic turmoil of refined carbs. Yet the true elegance lies in the pause, the natural morning delay. Rising at first light for fieldwork, the first calories wait until mid-morning, enforcing an 8–12-hour fast from the previous night's meal. This isn't deliberate deprivation, it's rhythm. Science catches up. A 2019 landmark study in cell metabolism on time-restricted eating, 8–10-hour windows, activated mild autophagy in participants, your cell's recycling program, sweeping out damaged proteins and inflamed debris from joint tissues, slashing inflammation 10–15% over 4 weeks. For osteoarthritis, a 2021 systematic review in Obesity Reviews analyzed 15 trials. Similar fasting protocols eased symptoms in 70% of older adults, improving range of motion by 10–20 degrees in knees and hips after 4–8 weeks, as insulin sensitivity rose and cytokine storms quieted. In Hunza, this fast aligns with labor's demands, but replicated in labs, it shows promise for anyone. Less morning fog, steadier joints, So what might this look like in practice? Not a rigid overhaul, but an invitation to experiment, guided by evidence. Start small. Incorporate 3 to 5 dried apricots, unsweetened, about 50 grams, upon waking. Their sweetness a gentle signal to your system. Follow with a handful of walnuts, 28 grams soaked overnight to ease digestion and boost mineral uptake by 20%, per a 2016 food chemistry study. Finish with a palm-sized chapati or porridge from stone-ground grains, oats or barley if Hunza sourcing isn't handy, totaling 50-75 grams for steady fuel. The fast? Aim for 10 to 12 hours overnight, eating your last bite by 7 p.m. and breakfast at 9 a.m. Trials suggest patience yields results. In the first 3 to 7 days, many notice subtler shifts, fiber from grains and fats from nuts smooth glucose curves, banishing that mid-morning slump as detailed in a 2020 diabetes care intervention, where participants reported 15% more consistent energy. Digestion eases too. Walnuts prebiotics foster butyrate production, reducing bloating in 80% of a 2019 nutrients cohort. By weeks 2 to 4, inflammation whispers fade. CRP dips 10 to 20%, and early signs like finger stiffness soften, echoing the antioxidant surge from apricots in the 2020 meta-analysis. At 8 to 12 weeks, the payoff deepens. Joint flexibility climbs 15 to 25%, with less reliance on morning stretches, as omega-3s from walnuts rebuild synovial linings per the arthritis research and therapy trial. 3 months in, consistency compounds. Oxidative stress normalizes, autophagy clears chronic buildup, and overall mobility transforms. Not eradication of pain, but a resilient baseline, as affirmed in a long-term JAMA internal medicine study on Mediterranean-style diets, Hunza's close kin, where seniors cut arthritis flares by 30%. Variability reigns. Your genetics, baseline health, and activity level modulate outcomes. But the data whispers hope. This physiology is universal, adaptable. Of course, no valley holds all answers. Consult your doctor before changes, especially if managing conditions or medications. Antioxidants can interact, and fasting isn't for everyone. Apricot kernels? Steer clear. The risks eclipse unproven gains. The Hunza legacy endures not as a distant dream, but as a mirror to our potential. In an era of pills and haste, their way, Earth's gifts, timed pauses, communal simplicity, reminds us that health weaves from daily threads. No defying death, but honoring life. One apricot's burst of color, one walnut's quiet strength, one dawn's unhurried breath. If these insights stir you, step into your own valley, mindfully, with science as your guide. Share your path in the comments. Together, we uncover what lasts.